it's simplistic treatment for symptoms. So, for example, in the West, how do you treat asthma? First, you use the blue inhaler, bronchodilator, then you use the brown inhaler, the steroid, and that's it. And those patients are stuck on inhalers for life. Of course, that makes lots of good money for the drug companies, but does not cure the patient. It makes them drug dependent. The same with blood pressure problems. Even depression is treated as a drug deficiency disorder. It's absolutely shocking. And I have now retrained as a naturopathic physician. And what naturopathic medicine is all about is looking at root cause of disease and treating that patient in their environment for their best health advantage. And not only do those people feel better, but often that rubs off on their families, it's good for their families, and it's good for their own longevity. So I'm just so delighted to hear that you are setting up a proper science-based medical system in here, because that is in great need of that in this country, but nobody is doing it. We are killing patients with drugs, we are not curing people, and the vaccines are making things much, much, much worse. So medicine in the Western world is in a parlous state at the moment. And I am looking to people like yourselves to practice proper medicine, and maybe that will rub off on some of the doctors in the Western world.
The last point is, Dr. Sarah, there are 2 IITs in this country that have set up medical schools. It's a wonderful experiment being done, and I'm sure that these 2 IITs will do well, and they are going to award a dual degree of engineering and medicine, which is fantastic.
Well, I can't tell you how pleased I am to see this, because this is what patients want. When patients come to consult their doctor, they want to know why they are ill. What can they do to turn their health around? And they are simply not getting good advice in this country. They're not getting good advice about supplements, about their environment to live in, about detoxification regimes, about parental reasons. These are the answers patients want, and they're simply not getting them. So I can't tell you how happy and pleased I am, and if I can help in any way, please ask me and I will help you.
Yeah, it was wonderful, Sarah. I think I would like to suggest people here to look into the kind of work what you are doing, as well as I had happened to visit Boston University, and the way I work, I took his one book and I felt I must visit that university, Joseph Pizzerno, and I wish there were more number of Joseph Pizzerno and more number of Sarah Mahils around in India also, so that the kind of, because we started working on some area and entered into some similar kind of things. So now I believe unless I remove the lead, unless I work on some detox modalities, I'm not able to connect the dots here. We are still trying to do that symptomatic treatment, and that symptoms are always, it is like pushing in. So all the doctors, there are quite a number of good presence was there, and I'm really happy that you are able to convey the particular stuff. And we keep meeting across like this twice in, once in 2 months or something like that. And it was really great, and I must appreciate your effort. Morning 6 o'clock in the morning, you came online. No other doctor here would like to get out of his bed at 6 o'clock, that too on a Sunday. It was really great. Thanks a lot, and a big kind of namaste from India. And please, you stay with us for some time. I know you have that 3-day conference and all that, and it's great. And it was after meeting some people like Dietrich Klinghardt and these people, I'm really very happy to meet you. And let's try to see that what best can come out later. Let's work it out. Thank you.
Well, no, thank you for inviting me. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. So the thing is, we have been talking about how we can, there are various things here. I'd like to start by a simple thing which I believe there is a thing called electrohypersensitivity. Electrohypersensitivity is one thing I'd like to share my presentation, and this is what made me trying to look into some of the nitty-gritties, and I'll just thing is, I stumbled on some things, and I just want you to understand that because there are some things which we believe you need a multi-mode approach. So I'll come back to my talk where I started initially about this electrohypersensitivity. This particular thing you can always one second. I have okay. Yes. I think I have a problem with the gadgets and all of that. I had to. I realized that I was always trying to look at my son, who used to be always there with me to help me out. But okay, he has gone to a medical school in some other state in Hyderabad. So I don't know. I had jumbled. So thing is, I hello. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So what I was talking about is like how I can get this one. We started doing that talk about cell phones. We just started the cell phone and try to go simply about, I was talking about the tobacco industry, and you know the tobacco industry's history and all that. I don't want to go, this was one of the talks I had.
Screen
Yes, sir, there is a
yeah.
So I don't want to get into much details. The only thing what I want to make a point in front of the policy makers is this was the era when it was tobacco, and history is repeating now. We used to tell in 1960s, 70s and all that, all is good. Doctors used to come and give an advertisement for smoking, and that particular thing was a history. And now this, we knew what happened after that, and now we had to always work on that. So this particular thing, now that tobacco industry history is replaced by the cell phone industry, and I can always go on and on here, but I just want to tell you there is something called electromagnetic radiation, and we are always into continual connectivity. And somehow I don't think I can I have any problem. I don't think I can work it out without this particular thing. And so what are these particularly? What are the cell phones and smartphones? What was the analog phone we had? I still have one of my relative. He thinks that the analog phones are the better because it doesn't have any smart kind of thing. But I can tell you the kind of radiation he's getting with that is quite high. So these are the key frequencies and all that. And I always tell my patients not to use a microwave oven. Microwave oven is just like Ketan, it's like keeping a cell tower in your room. Yes, I'm talking about this continual connectivity. People, whatever we are working, the way we are working, always they expect that, okay, he's always online. So as a doctor, as anyone, people are now totally always online, and you have to understand what is this thing causing. So this particular mobile radiation, I'm going to give all the references here. I'm talking about whatever I'm talking. I'll give a reference here. So you're using a high-powered this one. And the thing is, this phones emit that low frequency electromagnetic fields, and this is one thing which, sir, I gave this talk in 2012 in Goa. The same slides I picked up. I said it is still relevant. Old is still gold. We were talking about that time. There were not much Nokia and all that. We shifted from that one to this one, 3G at that time, and we were slightly. There were no WhatsApp at that time. So let me give you some examples. This is one thing which we always fear. Humankind is at the most important crossroads between environmental influences and health, and there was associations between asbestos and lung cancer, lead paints. My practice is mostly into autism and ADHD as well as others. So we used to tell that, we used to patients, their mother and father, they used to tell that his son goes and licks the wall of the paint, they try to do that licking and all that. They used to think that's only the iron deficiency. It's not just that, it is basically because of the lead toxicity also. It's the lead also which causes that. So there are so many things which associations are there, but we need to look with a pinch of salt, because something we are risking our lives, not just lives. Some things are at stake. Notion that this is one thing which there were a lot of we started digging during that time, whatever things and all that. There were lawsuits and all that. One particular thing I have talking about is David Perlmutter, Dr. David Perlmutter is a neurophysician, and he has done such amazing kind of work. You have to see the kind of practice he does. The neuro cases, particularly neurodegeneration, Parkinsonism and all that, the patients, they come to him, they just try to walk like this, it's a typical gait. After 15 days, they go walking Buddhism. That was the kind of work what I have seen, David Perlmutter. And he believes there is a thing called radiation which can cause cerebral cells neural degeneration. So there were lots of lawsuits and all that, but I think people have done, there are a lot of perseverance. People work with a lot of perseverance there, and all these things were settled by some or the other thing. My focus, I came after meeting Joseph Barcola. I felt he was in Colorado, he was giving a lecture, and he was just mentioning about something called cell phone, and he said the way how you hold the cell phone, okay, he's scared to touch it like this, and he uses a selfie stick and keeps like this and talks on the speakerphone, and he used to wrap a kind of silver mesh around this, and he used to keep in the pocket. There was a silver mesh thing like that, and he used to keep that. And I felt that this guy is slightly crazy and all that, but somehow once we started looking at answers, people started getting that low sperm count, people getting into that. We have data here, we can always show you that. So there are big things at stake, sir. Only thing is, I still believe that some things can be done in a more better way. So we are talking about this analog phones and all that, and I am still trying to make, he's a big director at some level in the central government, and he doesn't believe on smartphone, he has only one analog. And he says, okay, whatever, if I want to send him some message also, I have to write down on SMS and all that. But only thing is, I had seen him talking for not less than 3 hours at one go. And he slowly developed tinnitus and all that. So I'm just trying to educate him. But all, particularly people at the top, they don't listen to us. So we are talking about wide electromagnetic fields, and I somehow, the moment I entered this in the morning 9:30, I came here, and I made it secure that my MacBook is connected through the cable, Ethernet cable. And I'm not using Wi-Fi here, I'm just using this line. So I just want to make a statement here, try using wired lines, the kind of reception, everything is very fast, and don't get into issues here. We are talking about micro-smog wireless chaotic vibrations. We are talking about all cell phone, cordless phone, Bluetooth, even the baby monitors, and Wi-Fi is a big thing, and we try to, only thing I can tell you that most of my particularly patients who are well educated, we try to make them understand that particular stuff, and we give them some lot of educative stuff and all that, and they are complying with that. And just by switching off your Wi-Fi, the quarrels, the personality disorders, the depression, people having issues, they are getting sorted out. So, Chakrapani ji, it is elephant in the room and we are not able to see. As Ambassador said, you had, there are a lot of movements which are happening now. We are talking about Save Landline campaign. I'm not very happy using my cell phone always, but I don't have any option. But I still feel I try to limit my call. One of my friend is Ravi Bekle here, and he is from Nasik. And he has seen me once. He always keeps it was a joke or something like that, but he says, Saxena always keeps the phone, I just keep that off. So that's button, I used to always keep ready actually. By the time he finishes or numbers, it is off. He wants to talk to any time, because he says this guy is a very impulsive guy. Ravi, you are there, you can always tell about that. Your experience with me, because I hear only by the moment I switch off that particular phone. Abruptly stop the conversation, because I was worried I should not go on and on with the service. We can always talk with the speaker mode, it's easy now. So this cell phone radiation alters the brain activity, and this is one thing which we always have to understand. 15 minutes with cell phone next to here is enough to create that inflammation. And yes, we are talking about, when we talk about inflammation, everything comes to the thing. And when we are talking about something like Wi-Fi, it is it's a 2.4 gigahertz exposure, which is resulting. And we have an interesting case where the thing is, the patient had a something like atrial fibrillation control, always used to have tachycardia, something like 100, 120 or something like that. But when this model, he has increased the capacitor model from 300 Mbps or something like that. We had done with 2 Mbps also, sir. Initially when the Wi-Fi was there, it was 2 Mbps, it went on to now it is 300 or 400. And the moment this chap subjects into this one, he got into something like huge atrial fibrillation. The heart rate went up to 280, 240 or something like that. And the reason was only the surrounding, the where he was sitting actually. So this were all quite old studies, 1970 study, and the autonomic vascular crisis. This was relatively unheard during our medicine days, and I am sure I am not, even if there were any class about autonomic dysfunction, I didn't attend that. Probably I didn't give attention to that. But these are the patients who are having it. There are a lot of people who walk into my clinic and they have the problem is imbalance. They have that not a good gait and all that. They always have a low BP, and they get into some kind of, they have all this adrenal dysfunction and all that. Dr. BP and all that can always talk about that. Adrenal dysfunction is quite very getting calmed down, probably because of this particular stuff. And we know about something like microwave effects on cardiac muscle, and this has to be taken up further. And we believe that this electromagnetic interference, it's not just the rhythm which alters, even the myocytes and all that, the mitochondria which are there in the myocytes, they also get affected. And so there is always a controversy about cell phone, and now that we cannot go away with the cell phone, we need to find out ways how we can get better with this. So talking about safety controversy and all that, thing is, I can always tell you the severity. One about this, all the papers which have come, out of 400 papers, 396 papers were produced by the companies which make the cell phones. Only 4 governmental studies were done. 396 studies were done by these people. So you can expect what is going to be the outcome. So this is always a kind of controversy was there. We are talking about male infertility and all. I still have to, I was telling about how Joseph Mercola was rapping kind of stuff. We need to have something, otherwise we are going to. And yes, there are always studies which were there which showed that sperm motility also decreased in presence of this Wi-Fi also. Sperms are not motile. So this is one thing. Another study which showed increased DNA fragmentation, and it's slightly tough because we are all living into this particular into that level of electromagnetic field. We are all surrounded by that, and we are not. We don't know what is that actually. So thing is, this is a perfect storm, and I believe I would like to have any questions and all that on this cell phone. This cordless phone, cordless phones are usually mostly people who are in US, and most of the people who come back here, they get the cordless phone to the near and dears. And I was trying to understand the cordless kind of stuff, but I can tell you with this study of 2011 and later, this is they have told this is one of the probable human carcinogen. It's always better to have wired lines rather than cordless ones. And so this is, I think, and you can see here, when you are subjecting this thing like for a 5-year-old child, this where the thermographic studies were done along with, they can see the effect what was having here. And the same thing in adult and child, it makes a lot of difference. The children's thin, you have got a skull which has got thin plates, so the penetration is quite maximum. And I really don't understand our customs. I have seen a childbirth, after a childbirth, a child is not just a day or old also, but the parents are happy putting the cell phone when the child is crying here, and someone at a distance, they are getting happy the child cry and all that. So the thing is, this is a big problem, and newborn in a country like Bangladesh has stopped. Till 18 years you should not use a cell phone. You need to look into that. I had maybe I think it is difficult for us now, but if we can limit the application. I had seen the kids who come with ADHD, with autism and all that, they were always on the phone. And he thinks that the child is very smart. He knows how to open the YouTube and all that, and he thinks like that. And by keeping this thing near to your face and all that, there are a lot of electromagnetic things which are coming and causing a problem. One word about something like this one, which is called SAR value, and this was told to me by Girish Kumar. He was from IIT Mumbai, and he retired. And this guy was telling about what is the SAR value equals to. The SAR value is something like if you have got a SAR value of 3 or 4, and and that means you can use it for 6 into 3, 80 minutes per day, that cell phone usage. And that was the limit which was prescribed. And I see everyone crossing the limits way beyond, and I think that is another part of the story. But we had to really think why we are getting into a problem. This is all I think it's every day in the textbook and all. You can always look into that. But I am sure we need to change ourselves in the way we hold this kind. Right now, I am doing 3 cases for tinnitus for hyperbaric oxygen. The patients are with me right now. The problem is they started having sensory neural deafness, one side tinnitus, vertigo, and you know the cause is only the cell phone. 2 to 3 hours. It's such a common thing. About 25 to 50, 40 years age group. Because there is no other cause except for this particular stuff. So you need to tell our people not to see. My clinic, we put that board clearly. We are not allowed to take cell phones inside the doctor's room and try to switch off the thing. And we don't give Wi-Fi to the patients. Wi-Fi is not there in my clinic. And so we are talking about non-thermal effect of this cellular phone like radiations. These are all peer reviewed. We are talking about something like heat shock proteins. And when we talk about heat shock proteins, one second. When we talk about something like heat shock proteins, I am talking about on a normal basis, and this is what we try look into that. And yes, the onset of brain cancer, leukemia, and lymphoma. I can always tell you it has not been proved, Dr. Ketan, but it has not been proved also. There are no reports. It's not unproven also. Thing is, it doesn't cause cancer, there are no reports of that. It causes cancer, there are no reports. So we talk about something like precautionary principle. We tell that precautionary principle is a must here. We know that I started with the tobacco industry. That time in 1960s and 70s, some doctors they started telling this is going to cause problem. And it was so had precautionary principle had been followed that time, things would have been much better. I had a few more slides I wanted to show you, which are probably, yes, this I can always share with you anytime. This were the studies and all, and yeah, these are the according to some of the people, there were studies, a lot of studies. I mean, the latest studies are much more. I thought I'll just tell you small things initially, and we were talking about, Dr. Sana was talking about melatonin, we were talking about, she told amazing things about mitochondrial cytopathy and what is mitochondrial cytopathy, how we are trying to work with this in energy currency, which is ATPs. So what happens is that if you don't have proper coenzyme repair, that was totally for the doctors, and she was probably working on that. This is the simple this thing, cell phone also can create the telecomagnetic things. So there is a problem with the cell-to-cell communication, which is also hampered here. Reduce testosterone levels. It's not something which was concerned. And we used to think that okay, man virility is going off and all that. But there were reports, there were things people have started working on that. One of them was Ashok Agarwal's work, as well as there was work in this place also, Chandigarh, PJ Chandigarh also this particular thing. And in Germany, these are the theories. This I'm talking about Naresh Panda from Chandigarh, sorry. And they presented this study showed mobile phone usage for more than 4 years experienced greater loss of hearing in high frequency. This is the studies which were done, replicated here also. So we are talking about something called motion, this microwave sickness, where you get something like agitation and emotional outburst. My staff notices sometimes what is happening to sir. He is getting outbursts, he is getting angry with small things. It happens with all of us. But can be an early sign of this microwave sickness also. And yes, we are all getting into this kind of problems. But if we can slightly change our this one, we can always be better. And I can always tell you, people telling, oh, headache is the problem and all that. There is a thing called, Girish Kumar told me about what is the kind. You start, the very first thing is the headache. You just see, if you are, when you are talking after that, your ear is getting slightly warmer. That is the first sign of mental hypersensitivity. You are into trouble. And there are other things also. And I think again, there were studies which were done, interphone studies and all that. I was telling Narasimha, the studies which there were, we picked up 400 studies with this particular stuff, and 396 studies were funded by all Motorola and Nokia. And so only 4 governmental studies were done, and they showed there was a problem, and it was kept under the carpet. And this is that WHO study. We don't want to get into this one, but this is real actually. Cell tower antenna radiation is real. I'm just trying to highlight that this has to be something called a wireless wake-up call, and it is a elephant in the room, and we must wake up and see that particular stuff. High Wi-Fi net. We talk about something like Wi-Fi density, and when we talk about Wi-Fi density, we can always, I can give you an example. In this much room, you have got a small Wi-Fi thing and all that. If you go to a place in Mumbai, and in this room there will be at least at least 8 to 10 towers will be there, and this things will be there. So the higher the Wi-Fi density, the more problems we are going to get. So electrosmog and electronic illness is a big thing, and we believe there were some areas, and now we are so finicky about something called incandescent bulb as well as the CFLs also. I started, I'm not using much white lights in my house. At least we have taken out all the tube lights. Tube light is a big issue because there is something like mercury in that. The problem with the tube light is if it breaks, there is a team which comes in other part of the world. If your tube light breaks, somebody comes with all the mask and all that. He cleans up, mops everything. You cannot even vacuum that. You have to totally safely take out, as if bomb scared, like that person will come and take out that particular stuff. And that's the most dangerous thing, because just one tube light with that, this one can pollute the whole nuisance and the next with mercury. So we need to be careful about these things. And people do get this black things, doctor, they are getting this black here and all that. This is all because of lights what they are facing. So that's the easiest explanation what I give to my patients. But because it emits all these things like UV radiation, dirty electricity. Dirty electricity is a big component. I think there is a lot of things we can. These are all the studies which were done. I just tried to this one look into that. This is the end of my talk on cell phone, and I can always take a small this one, Dr. Dr. Narasimha is a known person who has worked a lot on pesticides, and he has always been on the front. He is not anti-government, I can say, but he is a researcher and worked a lot. I would like to hand over to Dr. Narasimha, Dr. Narasimha. Sir, you can please take over.